which you kept back by fraud, are crying out against you, and the cries of the harvesters have reached the ears of the Lord of hosts. You have lived on the earth in luxury and in self-indulgence. You have fattened your hearts in a day of slaughter. You have condemned and murdered the righteous person. He does not resist you. Every person, every morning, has to make the decision of what to wear. From cheap sweatpants, pricey coats, slouchy jeans, designer accessories, fancy boots, or comfy sneakers. These decisions have to be made in order to complete an outfit for the day. It seems like such a simple decision, but each piece of clothing, each accessory has a background. Where did it come from? Made in the USA? Made in China? Who made it, and what trouble and harm has it caused them? What detriments did it cause for the environment? These are questions most people do not consider in dressing themselves each day. Because of recent investigations into the fashion industry, fast fashion is proving to be more problematic than any of us have ever realized because of its unethical practices and disruption to the environment while promoting an unsustainable model of high-speed mass production. Picture this. You wake up in the morning and walk into your closet to start making decisions for the day. You put on your H&M shirt without considering the factory worker who is being abused and assaulted. Their family is undergoing severe financial hardships because their income cannot keep up with the inflation rates despite their mistreatment. Next, you put on your favorite jeans from American Eagle, while the tag stays unnoticed. Without thought, your decision to support that brand is also supporting the contamination of several primary water sources with toxic heavy metals just from the production of those jeans. You want to wear your favorite Adidas shoes today? Well, the making of those shoes has caused the carbon footprint to be significantly increased. Lastly, the finishing touch. You add your new necklace from Shein. That design was stolen from hardworking and creative designers employed at a large successful company, and this cheap imitation was sold for a fraction of the price. Fast fashion refers to the expeditious production of clothing, usually in a way that abandons quality for quantity. Fast fashion can be found in retail stores and in internet markets. Have you heard of Shein or Temu? That is fast fashion. Personalized advertisements from companies like these continue to bring more of these fashion products to the buyer's attention than ever before. Along with this, fast fashion has become a global environmental justice issue. The United States Environmental Protection Agency defines environmental justice as the fair treatment and meaningful involvement of all people, regardless of race, color, national origin, or income, with respect to the development, implementation, and enforcement of environmental laws, regulations, and policies. As departments of business collaborate with environmental scientists and researchers to discuss the environmental health concerns created by the fast fashion industry, experts confirm that fast fashion has become detrimental for both our society and our environment. What's worse is the humanitarian crisis that countries are facing because of the poor working conditions that are allowed by the fast fashion industry. Consumers should cease purchasing clothing from the fast fashion industry in order to preserve a healthier, more stable environment that will stand the test of time. Along with being detrimental for both society and the environment, the fast fashion industry also puts laborers in harmful conditions and in many dangers. In 2013, the Rana Plaza factory in Bangladesh, a factory which produced clothes for British fast fashion companies, collapsed due to expired safeguards. The owner of this building illegally built the upper floor, causing it to shake when turning on their several machines, ultimately leading to its collapse. This incident injured 2,500 people and killed a little over 1,000. Even after this tragedy, workers were still ordered to go into work. This story puts into perspective how the fast fashion industry puts its laborers in many dangers and hazards. After this event, building inspections were done on over 1,000 fast fashion company factories in which 80,000 safety issues were discovered. This happening is absurd. The fast fashion industry significantly disturbs the environment as it has one of the greatest carbon footprints, holding 8 to 10% of the carbon emissions across all countries. If these percentages continue to grow as they have over the past 2 decades, then by 2050, the fast fashion industry will account for a quarter of the world's carbon emissions. A carbon footprint is the total amount of greenhouse gases that are generated by human actions. Greenhouse gases include carbon dioxide and methane, most of which are produced by combustion of fossil fuels. Industrial emissions are a huge contributor to these greenhouse gases. According to National Geographic, atmospheric levels of carbon dioxide are currently at the highest levels ever recorded. If we allow this to occur, we are increasing the risk of intense drought due to changing weather patterns seen across the globe. There could also be negative impacts on human health, as pollutants from the fast fashion industry are adding sulfur and nitrogen-containing particulates to the Earth's atmosphere. This poor air quality has been linked to asthma and certain cancers. Fast fashion should be regulated to the point of halted in order to save the environment from further damage. Along with polluting the air, the fast fashion industry also causes disruption to the ocean and vegetation leading to possible negative impact on both animals and humans. This can cause the warming of oceans, which can then cause glaciers to melt. This in turn can lead to an increase in ocean levels, causing animals to suffer with loss of food sources and less coastal lands for humans to inhabit. Some of the most impacted countries are the very ones that are involved within the fast fashion industry, such as Bangladesh, China, and Vietnam. The International Union for Conservation of Nature estimated that 35% of all microplastics found in the ocean come from the laundering of synthetic textiles like polyester. The production of polyester requires decent amounts of oil, while cotton requires pesticides and large amounts of water to be produced. The dyeing of cheap clothes involves a mixture of many toxic chemicals such as lead, polyfluorinated substances, and phthalates. Fashion is one of the most polluting industries in the world, a big reason being denim production. According to a 2021 article from the website EcoWatch, an environmental publication supported by both NASA and the Smithsonian, Xinjiang, China, considered the denim capital of the world, has recorded evidence of toxic heavy metals associated with gene production in more than 3/4 of water testing sites. It is becoming nearly impossible for people to live here because of this arising complication. Why should we allow these conditions to continually cause damage to human life, wildlife, and our environment in general? The fashion industry squanders more than 90 billion cubic meters of fresh water each year. That is 1/10 of all water implemented industrially to run factories. Approximately 3,000 liters of water are used to produce just one cotton shirt. To put that into perspective, that is enough water for a singular person to drink over the course of 2.5 years. In 2017, the fashion industry consumed around 79 billion cubic meters of water, the same amount of water used to fill approximately 32 million Olympic-sized swimming pools. In 2017, a report showed that 62 million metric tons of apparel were globally consumed. Because of this, more items tend to end up in landfills as these cheap, poor-quality clothing pieces are quickly thrown out after only being worn a couple of times. These landfills are then incinerated, leading to toxic ash, combustion gases, air pollutants, and many more. These factory workers, especially women, face abuse from their employers consisting of rape, assault, and sexual harassment. In 2018, more than 500 Gap and H&M employees reported abuse by their employers. A report in 2022 spoke to 90 women who worked within the fast fashion industry, in which every single one of them had witnessed and/or experienced harassment performed by their male supervisors and managers. According to the U.S. National Labor Committee, some of these workers make as little as 12 to 18 cents an hour, along with working in extremely poor conditions. They work up to 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, and yet only 2% of workers make a living wage. The countries that hold these factories often lack substantial labor laws. These employers are held to be guilty of wrongfully exploiting their workers because they take advantage of them and convince them to agree to terrible terms of employment such as poor working conditions, low wages, and extreme long hours. Fast fashion websites have become a default source when shopping for new clothes, shoes, and accessories. If fast fashion has all of these negative impacts, then why has it become the latest and greatest trend within the fashion industry? We think that we are getting the best deals from companies like Shein, H&M, Princess Polly, and Forever 21, but really, we are damaging the environment just one purchase at a time. Fast fashion may have its benefits, but do they outweigh the damages that come along with it? Let's examine that idea. Madison Welch, a typical teenage girl just like any other, loved finding great deals and sales from stores like H&M and Forever 21. She loved finding a trendy shirt for only $5. However, she did not stop and think about how much this cheap shirt was costing others. Madison's parents have a nonprofit organization called Mercy House Global, with the primary goal of empowering vulnerable families in Jesus' name by creating opportunities that provide hope. She and her mother went to Ethiopia to partner with a nonprofit that employed women to make school uniforms and other clothing pieces. Upon arrival, they quickly found out that this organization was being shut down because it could not compete with the neighboring factories, which were a part of the fast fashion industry. Buyers would rather purchase from the cheaper option, even though they exploited their workers and had wages of less than 20 cents an hour. The leader of the nonprofit approached the manager of the neighboring fast fashion company to discuss the exploitation of their workers, and the response that she received was astounding. Even if they lowered their wages to 10 cents an hour, people would still be lining up for a job. Shockingly, this was one of the biggest H&M suppliers. Madison checked the tag on her shirt and it read, H&M, made in Ethiopia. Fast fashion has short-term benefits for the consumer and at times even the supplier. However, consumers need to ask the following question. How long will these short-term benefits last? Yes, these fast fashion factories allow jobs for people in third world countries, but are the wages and exploitation worth it? These employees are hardly paid a living wage. Some of these workers in Ethiopia make an insufficient amount of $26 a month. How can one survive off of that wage? We continue ordering and paying these companies only for them to keep a large profit and hardly provide or reward their employees with any. Along with this, the fast fashion industry also employs children who then undergo the same exploitation. In the United States law, Section 211 states that no minor under the age of 16 shall be employed, permitted, or suffered to work in any gainful occupation more than 8 hours in any one day, nor more than 6 consecutive days in any one week. These laws also forbid children under the age of 18 to partake in jobs deemed too dangerous. These are jobs that store and manufacture explosives, excavation occupations, exposure to radioactive substances, roofing, and several power-driven machines. Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 protects employees and job applicants from employment discrimination based on race, color, religion, national origin, and sex. The United States holds these laws in order to create and maintain a just labor force. One may say, fast fashion is so great because you can quickly get the latest styles for a low price. Fast fashion may be a low cost for the supplier, but is it really a low cost? No. Fast fashion may be a low cost for the consumer, but is it really a low cost for the environment and these laborers? Fast fashion creates high production costs as they receive continuous orders throughout each day. The well-known fast fashion company Shein produces anywhere from 35,000 to 100,000 clothing pieces a day. So much goes into each order: materials, labor costs, machinery, and transportation. Because these clothes are made from such low-quality materials, they do not last long, causing consumers to buy more and more, ultimately leading to the problem of overconsumption. Many think that fast fashion means disposable fashion. This is simply not correct. Consumers continuously buy new clothes to fit the latest trend, and whenever that trend quickly dies, they go back and buy more. We can reduce overconsumption by buying less clothes but better quality clothes. In other words, quality over quantity. One good quality item may cost $60, but it would last years, even decades more than buying 10 items from Shein or Forever 21 for the same price. Supporting the fast fashion industry is supporting abuse, sexual harassment, and extreme disruptions to our environment, including pollution to the air, ocean, and vegetation. Along with this, it also creates a huge humanitarian crisis to the third world countries that are involved within the industry. The 20 to 30 extra dollars spent on a piece of clothing truly can make the world of a difference. Thank you. I would now like to open the floor for questions. Yes.
How did you decide to come across this topic?
Well, last year I was originally going to do my topic on women's heart health because a lot of the experiments are done on men rather than women, but I couldn't really find a refutation for that. And I was in study hall and I was like, I really don't know what to do. And one of my classmates was like, you should do something about fashion because you're really into that. And I was like, yeah, but like I don't know what to do. And he said that he had seen a documentary about fast fashion, said it was really interesting. So I looked into it and I realized it was a really interesting topic that we come across daily but don't think about. So well, I haven't purchased from Shein since September, so I would say I have. Yes.
If we want to support this and saying that we don't want to buy these items, how do we know where they are being sold at?
So a lot of the brands are mainly going to be online, like a lot of the ones that I mentioned, and a lot of things that are made in China or Bangladesh or Vietnam, like I mentioned, are also going to be fast fashion brands. But it's not exactly very practical to, whenever you're shopping in store, to look at every single tag and look up where everything was made. So I think we can start with just not purchasing from these online brands as a good start. Yes.
So a couple of questions. One, you talked a lot about the producer side of the problem, so like fast fashion manufacturers, but it seems like this is also a consumer problem. That we tend to like change clothes every, Felix likes to make fun of me for wearing the same shirt every day. But it's funny. But it seems like that part of the thing is that we want to have a different shirt every day and don't want to wear the same thing for every year. Do you see that as a problem that's kind of feeding this?
I definitely think that it is a problem because we're always like wanting new clothes, even if we have plenty of clothes. So I would say, again, like going back to where I talk about overconsumption, we can reduce overconsumption by buying less clothes but better quality clothes. So I think that's really important.
I have two more questions that will be crucial. The shirt I have on, I think it's made in Bangladesh. It's chaps.
Mr. Davis.
How do I know if it's fast fashion made or if it's for real? Because I paid, decent price for a chap shirt.
I guess just do your research. Look it up because I don't know. They're like.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, it's hard to figure it out.
Yeah.
And then the last question. It seems like a lot of these countries, like Bangladesh, have a hard time finding jobs, so they work for 20 cents an hour. Is there any way, if you just shut down fast fashion, it doesn't necessarily solve that problem because they're still without jobs? Have you thought any about how does that side get fixed? And that's a big question. So.
Yeah, I didn't really focus a lot on that in my research, so I don't really have a perfect answer for you. Thank you.
Anna, well done presenting. So the juniors just got done reading John Steinbeck's book, The Grapes of Wrath. And in the 30s, industrialization is coming into the farmlands in America, and tractors can do work quicker than people, right? So people are losing jobs because they're not tied to the ground in the same way that they used to be, but you can actually get more food faster. And I can't help but that train of thought ties into the fast food industry today. So a lot of, I think, what you're discussing in fast fashion is also true in fast food. We can get things quicker, cheaper, but pay the cost later, right? And so I guess as you thought about this, the principle applies in other areas of life. What are some of the principles, even aside from choosing our clothing, that you would have in mind as good ways to live? What is it that you've learned from thinking about fast fashion that you might build good habits around?
So me and Miss Parrish actually talked about this yesterday. So how you said the fast food industry, fast fashion is kind of like the fast food of the fashion industry. So if you're going to McDonald's and just getting McDonald's meals all the time that are cheap, they're obviously not going to be good for you. But if you go to a local restaurant and you get a grilled chicken salad, it's going to be a lot more expensive, but it's also going to be a lot better for you. So it's going to have a lot better long-lasting benefits.
No, I really appreciate that. And it feels like a lot of this is driven by a lack of time. So we're all in a hurry all the time. So we tend to do things that are quick and cheap. Do you have any thoughts on how we might change our lifestyle regarding the way we think about time? Has that crossed your mind at all?
Not really.
I appreciate that.
Yes.
I know kids grow really fast, so they can't really
They do.
What are some alternatives for kids who grow really fast out of say high quality clothes?
So even me and Miss Bear talked about this also yesterday. If people are along with growing out of clothes, getting a lot of clothes, if people are not the richest and they can't afford good quality clothes, there are definitely better alternatives such as secondhand stores, thrifting, uptown. There will be a lot of better options. Yes.
In your research, did you come across why exactly the gene production produces so many heavy metals, and should we be concerned about those contaminants in our genes?
So all the chemicals, most of them come from the dyeing of the genes. And I did look up some gene brands that were sustainable, such as Madewell, Levi's, and Good American. They use recycled materials and recycled water to make their jeans, so that they're not putting all those chemicals and water back into our water sources. Any other questions?
Okay, so you and I also talked about, and this has just been over the course of the year, but how does all of this affect the economy? So I've said, with all the events we have on campus, sometimes we need sponsors. Well, we can't ask Shein to sponsor, the 5K that we have, but we can, we go to our local businesses. And so talk about how, our local economy and how fast fashion, we don't want it to hurt our local economy. We want to help our local economy. So what are some of the things we've talked about?
We've talked about buying from boutiques and also like our local boutiques. And also if that's too expensive for you, a lot of boutiques have sales very often, so you are easily able to get sales from boutiques. What else were you asking?
No, that's what I wanted to do.
Okay.
We want to spend our money locally and support
Our local
the
economy.
places that
Mhm.
support us as well, not just online.
Okay, and I know you said you were nervous about me asking you, but I just want to say a couple of things. Yesterday, Seth gave me a beat down about my technology use, and now you've given me the beat down on my shopping habits. I know how nervous you've been over the past couple of years about doing this. You took a topic that I think a lot of people, when they said, everybody wants to know what's everybody doing, Anna's doing fashion, and people kind of thought, fashion, you did an excellent job.
Thank you.
Of bringing something to everybody's attention that's important and that matters, and I'm super proud of you. You did a great job.
Thank
You're
you.
done.